Theurgy involves reaching continuously new levels of illumination. Part of the underlying theurgy mechanism is effectively shifting consciousness. We can do work to expand our consciousness, but we cannot shift our consciousness on our own. We must encounter something far more powerful than ourselves. This necessitates conscious interaction with divine beings. Part of the process means learning effective and practical evocation of spiritual beings to visible appearance at an appropriate point in initiatory development. These visible appearances are essentially full etheric crystallizations into the adept's immediate environment. These are the same type of etheric crystallizations that occur during Illuminatory Seership practice, in concurrence with quickenings that catalyze the second sight mechanism into projection to visible appearance, with the exception that evocation is not yet used in the beginning of that practice. Wondrous liquid light crystallizations still occur. The purpose of training in Illuminatory Seership as a prerequisite for Initiatory Theurgy is to facilitate the catalyzing of the projection mechanism of the spiritual eye into an active state so that later, during levels of training, evocation to visible appearance is possible. As a quickening rises, the etheric light, pure illuminatory force, activates the spiritual eye and projects the crystallized form of the spirit in front of the operator. This is essentially the root mechanism that allows evocation to visible appearance to function. The divine beings have the power to appear, but if the spiritual eye is not functional, the being will not be seen. So the idea that the spirit or intelligence evoked just appears at the perimeter of the magic circle that is supposed to act like a barrier for the spirit is utterly false. That is pure Hollywood romantic fiction, nothing more. The spirit comes through the operator's consciousness and body to get to the outside edge of the circle's perimeter in the first place. The perimeter of a circle is just a place to be. Many of the notions that circulate in the fraternal ceremonial community are fallacies, most particularly the notion that the magic circle is for protection. Why would an imaginary circle, or even one drawn out on the floor, stop a divine being from entering it when the operator whose consciousness is required to effect the evocation was in the circle when the evocation was performed? The crystallization comes through the operator's spiritual eye. The reason these nonsense beliefs persist is because there are very few people doing actual evocation to visible appearance to truly comprehend the mechanism. Either their spiritual sight does not function in order for the projection to happen when they attempt evocation, or they do not expect it to be as real as it is and are unable to retain enough composure during the experience to maintain the ability for critical thinking. If it's not the first case, it will very likely be the latter. Speaking of evocation and things unsaid, because no one actually knows, there is one more thing to share before we conclude that I have come to experience directly. It is a very important consideration. If you form a connection with a divine being through successful evocation, and you are therefore able to bring that being into this level of existence, it has the ability to reciprocate and bring you to its level of existence, until you find yourself standing in an entirely other level of existence in front of a divine being who has just done that. This is not something that would necessarily occur to you as a possibility. I've never read or heard that said anywhere. None of my teachers ever said a word about that, but I assure you it is absolutely true.